right.
We're it.
So my name is Todd Anderson. I'm with Summit Coaching, and we are excited about the opportunity to have a discussion today. We obviously have questions, but we really want to hopefully have an authentic dialogue about the topic work-life balance. And that means something really different, I'm sure, to all of us. But one thing that certainly has happened recently over the past 2 years is this thing called COVID.
Yeah, heard of
It's
it.
made the world kind of a different place, and we've seen some cultural shifts and changes, and some of that has really changed the way that we operate within our business, the relationships that we have, our home life. And so this idea of home and work and where's the balance, that's where we're going to go today. And so let's make some introductions. Go ahead, Dustin.
Dustin. I am Dustin Anderson, 5-Star Real Estate. How are we going to do this, guys? We're going to talk about like how many years you've been in this.
Yes.
6 years in the business.
Yeah.
6 years too long. No, I'm just kidding. Not really. And I'm at 5-Star Real Estate.
I'm Micah Childress. I'm also at 5-Star, and I've been in 1 day longer than Dustin.
1 day.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm a one-upper.
Three months.
I'm a one-upper. So
Wow.
For real, just 1 day?
No.
Okay, let's go.
No.
All right. Karla.
I am Karla Huitsing with Keller Williams Rivertown, and it's a little challenging to say I've been 26 years in the business. So we come from different life perspectives, which I love, and we're in different seasons of life, which is great.
Yeah, very good. So we do have questions that we thought about ahead of time and were sent to you to think about a little bit. Like I said, although we want to have some conversation with it, that'll be my part as moderator. But let me just go over the 3 questions, even for people listening. What are we about to talk about with work-life balance? And the questions themselves define a little bit of the boundaries of which we're going to be talking within. But the questions are, realtors seem to struggle with mental health and life balance. Have you struggled with being out of balance? If so, how do you know if you're out of balance? The second question is, many realtors believe that real estate needs to be 24/7. And if you would like to be successful, is it possible to actually have healthy life balance and still sell and list homes, a lot of them? And then what practical personal habits are valuable in helping bring greater joy, clarity, and work-life balance? So let's go ahead and we'll jump into the first question, work-life balance. And that is, there seems to be a struggle with realtors. Maybe you don't agree with that because you are one of them. So I think let's just start with, do you even agree with that there seems to be a struggle with mental health and life balance? And then it will obviously follow up, maybe, have you struggled with that? So Karla, I'm going to pick on you first. Yeah.
Okay.
So this idea of, as you've looked over, because you've had more years than they have, 26 years, do you believe that that is a true statement, that that's a challenge with work-life balance and mental health with realtors?
I absolutely think it is
Okay.
a problem.
Okay.
And I will just put it right out
Yeah.
there that it has been a problem for me through the years.
Okay.
And, especially people that have a high energy for customer service.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be on point. We want to give a high level of service.
Yeah.
So we just believe we should sacrifice everything for that client. And in our world, right, in our real estate world, it is anytime. We could get an offer at 10 p.m. We could get an offer at, responses at 8 in the morning. So we feel like we always have to be there. So
that's had positive effect for you, right?
Yes.
Like commissions, maybe? Like
Of
taking care of
course.
clients
Of
and
course.
the idea that, wow, I just gave them 24/7 service. That's amazing.
Yes.
But you said it also had downsides for you. Can you give us an example of some downsides?
yeah, my downside was that my relationship suffered.
Okay.
And there's no question that, my husband felt, he was very accommodating to my schedule because he liked the commission checks, right?
Right.
And
Thank you.
he liked them as well.
Keep
But
that.
there is a sacrifice within that relationship. And also for me personally, when it speaks to mental health, my bucket runs dry.
Ah,
My own bucket gets really dry. So then I'm finding that I'm living life more on fumes
oh,
than on flames.
whoa.
You're
That ought to
just
be written down. Is that
That's a great quote.
Okay,
Can we
okay,
write
I
that
just
one down?
made that up.
Write that one
So,
down.
write that one
Whoa,
down.
That was good.
So-
Hashtag trademark.
Yeah.
I wrote something similar. I
Did
said,
you?
If
Yeah,
you're,
Dustin.
if you're not fulfilled and energized, how can you fully give to your clients? Like if you have nothing to give,
Right.
how can you give to your clients?
Have you literally ever felt that, Dustin, like where you had nothing to give almost?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. For you, Micah, like, what would you think? First of all, would you agree with the statement that you think realtor, you do? Okay.
Yes, I think with technology the way it is, which can be a blessing of, I can get signatures instantly. I don't have to drive 20 minutes to my client's
Okay.
house and then drive 30 minutes in a different direction to drop off paperwork. Like all the seasoned veterans who've been around in our office love to remind us of, it has those advantages, but I think it allows clients to reach you instantly, and for those of us that work with referrals and friends and family, and you go on a couple of showings, you build a bond, they feel like they can text you at 10 at night, right? Because we're friends, and so not having the discipline to not respond and kind of helping them learn that that's not okay, and then you get back to them at 8 or 9 in the morning or whatever it is. That the 24/7 thing is real, and it's hard. You have to actively work against it because it's too easy. You're sitting there at 9:30 at night, watching something with you, on Netflix or whatever, and you got your phone right there. It's too easy to just fire back.
Wow.
And so you have to actively work against that by either just leaving your phone somewhere else or just being the discipline of just leaving it unread, right? Leave the message unread until tomorrow.
So I want to swing back with you on some habits, because I know you have developed some habits that are helpful. They're never perfect, right, Micah? But staying on here with this idea of the second tier of this was, if you do believe, which it sounds like you do, that's an issue. And by the way, is it just, are we picking on some minor issue, or do you think it's a fairly major issue?
I
think
it's major.
You think it's major?
I think it's major. Well, part of it is our families are maybe relying on our commissions, right?
Okay.
So that's
Right.
we feel that part of that burden.
Okay.
The other part is that, and we've only seen, kind of the market doing this. It's different. Maybe again, like the seasoned veterans like to talk about 20, 30 years ago is different. But the pressure that's on now when a house pops up to see it, and not only to see it, but to win it against 10, 20, 30, 40 other offers, that pressure is immense because your clients have fallen in love.
Okay.
And after you go on those showings, you're in relationship with your clients, you're rooting for them, and they'll be devastated if they don't get it.
So my observation in working with realtors is, I would say also that it is a pretty major issue, because they tell me that. So that's number one, proof's in the pudding. But one of the things that as I thought about that idea of why realtor, well, you're entrepreneurs. So you almost want to say, wait a minute, let's just define the obvious. You don't have a boss telling you where to be, when to be, and what work to do. So you create your own worlds, what you do when you get up and when you go to bed, what you do in between, right? That in itself says, which one do I do? Is this family time? Is this work time? Nobody has the clock. A lot of realtors will say, man, I just wish sometimes I had 5 p.m. hit and like those, some of my friends do, and they just come home, and wouldn't that be nice? Because it was defined for them. Those definitions to live well and successfully and within balance have to be something that you actually put in place. And we'll be talking about that third question about the habits. So I do want to ask you this second tier part of this. What has been how do you know if you're out of balance? So Dustin, let me ask you that. If you said you felt like dry and so forth, what were your indicators?
So I think to answer the question, how do you know you're out of balance?
Yeah.
I think you know by, you have to actively seek stillness.
Okay. And what do you mean by that? Someone will go, wow, that sounds esoteric. How do you do that, Dust?
Like intentionally finding time to slow the pace down, quiet, find quiet, solitude, and then literally just look inside yourself and say, how am I doing?
Yeah.
Like how you almost have to talk to yourself, have a conversation, and be honest with yourself. And actually just came from my therapist today, so like pretty easy to talk about. But I have discovered that I'm very reflective, but also critical. And so I'm constantly like having internal conversations with myself. And so I think, but I can also understand, I have lots of friends that when I share that with them, that's not their experience. But just Yeah, I mean, hearing their perspective, they're not constantly internally digging up how they're feeling about life.
Right.
And so
sometimes you wish you didn't have that. You've told
a
me,
little
right?
bit, yeah, yeah.
Right.
But I think if you're not finding time to quiet down and internally reflect on how you're feeling about things, you're not going to know.
You won't know if you're out of it. So that's one way you're saying, yeah, you'll know because you're going to have reflective time. A lot of people call that meditation. You don't start, it doesn't sound like with answering your phone and emails as soon as you get up.
Right. Yep. I think you also know by talking to those closest around you.
Ooh.
I think they give you
Indications?
whether it's a spouse who's upset with how you're spending time or how you're treating them. So I think those closest to you
We'll give you indicators.
give you an indication. Let's see here. I wrote down a few things, so sorry.
That's all right.
I wrote down by looking at the life wheel. So maybe
Tell us what do you mean by life wheel?
the life wheel, we've probably all heard little bits and pieces of what it is, but it's essentially just breaking down into, 8 sections or 9 sections?
It varies, but yeah, the major aspects of your life.
Right.
Your finances, your work, your relationships around you, spirituality, your so forth, and
So the concept is you're supposed to rate yourself in all those categories.
and you're all 10, right?
No.
Oh, darn it, Dustin.
And so then once you rate yourself in all those categories, the concept is that it's like a wheel that if you have a certain category that's depleted, that wheel's not going to roll nice and smooth.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And so I think that's a pretty obvious one where you start to look at, family, if that's one of them, and if that's rated low, you kind of know you're a little bit out of balance.
So in coaching with realtors doing the life wheel, I can't help it. It's a little humorous, but say, okay, so everybody wants to sell more homes, so we double our goals. Micah, you're a goal setter. I love that about you. You know that. You've got to hit your goals. And is that okay if we lose your wife? And I'll kid, a little bit. No. Well, no. Okay, so we got to spend some time there looking at that too, right? Or your kids or your deep relationships, whatever. So how do you know if you're out of balance?
I think, I typically do a good job of not taking my work home with me for the most part, but I think this market can be hard in terms of, you've been looking with somebody for a long time, you've found it, there's only, maybe 6 offers and you feel great, right, we're going to crush it, and then you get that call that you didn't get it or whatever, and so then you're short with your kids, you're short with your spouse, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have the patience with them, kind of like you're running on the fumes sort of thing, right? You don't have the patience with them, you're sort of taking it out on them, your frustrations with work, or right, the fact that you're spending all your free time looking for houses and showing houses, and then and so for me I had I think it's 2018, I think I had 7 active buyers where we're going on showings every week, and I remember I was giving my kids a bath, and my wife came in and she was like, go take a break. Like, she said, go lie down on the bed, because I'm just, sit down, what I mean, there's the water, right, and
she say you're a terrible dad too?
Oh,
Did you
for
throw
sure,
that in there
for
too?
sure, yeah,
Okay,
yep. So, I just felt at wit's end, and I'm short with the kids and all that stuff, and thank God this was like a Wednesday, because I remember, I think, between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I had 5 of them under contract. But otherwise, if you've got that many buyers, you don't have the time, you don't have the energy for them, let alone for whatever's left over for your family or yourself. And so, I feel like my family definitely bore the brunt of that if I'm out of balance.
Wow. Karla, for you, what were some indicators that, what?
I'm listening to both of them, and I'm thinking about piggybacking on both of them. And for me, I can think of times when I've had to work, what felt like 24/7, 7 days a week, because it just extracts. And so if everything is constantly extracting from me, I do get what I would consider to be leanness of soul. All of a sudden my soul doesn't feel satisfied. I feel like everybody's pulling at me. I feel like I'm short. To your impatience, I think I start to struggle internally with myself, and I'm short with about everything except your customer. Because you don't allow your customer to see that you're short.
Best.
Right? No, you give it, you dish out those goods to the people around you who love you the most, which is, they're the ones I think that suffer. So for me, and we're talking about work life, but But work life expands into, to me, that balance goes into all the pillars you talked about, the life wheels. You know, it's balancing all of those those pillars, so to speak. So, but I know we're talking about work life, but that's how I felt it.
Yeah.
It's very real. And I think mental health, we kind of look at, I don't want to say I have a negative outlook, but it's just if one more person needs one more thing from me,
Yeah. I think I'll slap
we
them,
just get empty.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I've caught myself saying to some of my clients the idea of, okay, why are we even talking about life wheel? What was the importance of having balance? And really result, and Dustin, you and I have had this talk as well, but really by being in balance, as being a realtor, your client gets a better experience overall. You can all fake it till you make it. You know, you get through these certain things, but if you get depleted too long, people sense your fullness, if we're full of life or if we're dissipated. And the ones that come to the deal, to the home, to the showing, to the listing, you can't really fake it. You can put on the smile, but when they sense you have life about you, they want to do business with you.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, sales is about people, our customers, our clients want to do business with people they like, that they trust, and they feel have competency. And the like and trust has a lot to do with, wow, I like to sense your positive energy, negative. So when like Dustin explained, when the wheel's round, we bring to the table, we bring to the home a lot more energy that's more likely to even give us a business. So I'll go into question number 2. Does that mean we have to work 24/7? Is that is that a real deal? Okay, just because your sign doesn't say 8 to 5, does that mean I have to work 24/7 to be a successful realtor? And it's okay to say, yeah, I think you really do. What's your real answer? Dustin, I'll start with you.
So the business is running 24/7.
Okay.
So clients' needs are constantly coming in.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that as realtors we should be constantly running. And so if we're going to talk about practical things that might be helpful to realtors,
Yeah.
when it comes to, I've found little hacks, I guess, if you will, that have allowed me to.
Did you say hacks?
Hacks, yeah, life hacks. Yeah.
Okay. I think that.
Hacks that allow you to still manage your time to where you can have a break. And so one of those is just, and I think a lot of realtors are following suit at this time because of the lack of inventory, but I always list a home on a Thursday morning. And when I control when a home is listed, I know what that week looks like. So there's tasks that happen on Monday, there's tasks that happen on Tuesday and Wednesday, all that lead up to listing a home on Thursday. And so even if there's multiple listings going live on Thursday that I'm responsible for, it's not, at least my schedule's my own. At least I can control those specific tasks on those specific days, and there's some predictability involved.
That's interesting.
So that's huge. And then when it comes to like buyers right now, I also kind of love that homes are listed on a Wednesday or Thursday, and then offers are due on a Monday or Tuesday, because that means I don't have to just drop everything and go see it the moment it's listed. That actually gives me an opportunity to look at my schedule, and I can say, oh, I have these things going on these days, and then you can figure out what works for me and what works for the client as well. And I don't mind the competition isn't awesome, but I would rather be able to say, oh, let's go see it Friday night, because that's when I'm free too, rather than having to drop everything or stop having dinner with my family or whatever just to go see a house. So, I think those are a couple things that I wrote down.
So thank you, Dustin. That's really interesting, very practical. Micah, I told you I'd come around to this topic. We're talking about you have to work 24/7. You and I've actually had some discussions on this idea of, wait a minute, you're such a dedicated realtor. I know that you to your clients, and you felt, I know that concept was there a little bit like this 24/7. I really need to be there.
Yes.
And then we talked about, but wait a minute, does that mean all the time? And you put some parameters in place, for example. Can you
Yes.
tell us about those?
So when I was brand new, I was 24/7, and I,
Yeah.
I do think if you're a new agent, especially in this market, you might have to
Have to be
hustle
for a
at
while.
that pace for a little bit,
Yep.
just to the things pick
All
up.
in, Karla. Yeah. So go ahead.
But when my wife and I, we had our first kid, and I quit being a professor, and I just jumped into real estate, and every evening we'd pop our kid into the stroller and go for a walk, and inevitably I'd end up texting or emailing or calling in the middle of our walks.
And how'd that go?
Awesome. My wife loved that.
She loved it.
Well,
She commented.
We 100% fought more about real estate than we did parenting, right?
Ah.
Even though we're not maybe getting sleep or whatever it is, right? And so trying to set up some parameters. And so, right, when I come home, the phone goes in, we have a mudroom, the phone goes in my locker. I don't touch it during dinner. So number one rule is I'm home for dinner. You know, I think last year, I only missed 4 dinners all year. So I feel like out of 300 business days, that's not bad. So be home for dinner. B, if I'm home for dinner, the phone is off, and I don't answer it unless somehow I have an offer due or something like that, which normally offers are due Mondays at noon or something, right? So that's become less and less of a priority. And I don't show on Sundays. So I will still, if an offer is due, I will still write an offer. I will write up an addendum if there's an inspection issue, something like that. I will still figure out business on Sunday. I'll take a phone call, but I won't leave the house for work.
Do you explain that to your client? I'm guessing ahead of time, so
Yes.
that this is not like, well, why weren't you there? Like,
And I was very fearful at the beginning, right? When we sat down, I thought, I'm going to lose business. I'm going to lose clients. My income's going to go down. I would say 99 times out of 100, my clients go, good for you, right? They'll say, good for you. I let them know in our first meeting,
Yep.
I don't show on Sundays. I tell them, hey, run an offer, all that stuff. I don't show on, I'll take an email, don't show. And they'll say, good for you. And they want to honor that, even if sometimes they'll text me on a Sunday, they'll say, don't answer this until tomorrow, but.
wow.
And so it's been awesome to see them not only embrace that, but respect it.
Wow. Karla, give us the concept of being all in, because the flip side of this is it's like we're never going to have perfect balance. Tell us about that.
So what I have come to learn through the process of reading different books, the one thing by Gary Keller, which I think everybody should read, I don't care if you're with Keller Williams or not. It's a great book. And the thing that I learned from that, my big takeaway was counterbalance.
Yeah.
So which you and I have talked about, and that is we could never reproduce. If we have to work 30 hours at work, or 40, 50 hours in our case sometimes, we're not going to be able to reproduce 50 hours at home. So there's no such thing as equal.
No.
What is equal is our energy around it.
Ooh.
So what can be equal, and you said it just perfectly actually, is that my phone goes up and I am at dinner and I am all in. So that's the counterbalance. The counterbalance is the same kind of energy that I just gave to real estate. I'm also going to give to whoever and whatever is in front of me now.
Yeah.
And it's very intentional to say, I'm putting this aside. If I have, breakfast with my dad or whatever, it's aside. It's in the purse. I'm not sitting there interrupting my time with dad. I am all in. So it's being committed, I think, to the activity that's in front of us. And we'll get to different options later, but learning how to leverage and giving up control. I think agents have this, I know I did, it took me a long time to give up control, to think I'm the only person in town that's given this level of
Why
service.
do you think it's
That's just
difficult to
not
give
true.
up control? What are we hitting there? Why?
That's a great question. I'm also a learner of personalities and how people tick and all that kind of stuff. I think sometimes we're trying to satisfy our own need base.
Explain that more. Why?
It's our own need base to be important.
Ah,
It's to be needed.
yeah.
Am I addicted to being needed?
Yes.
And as a lot of people may or may not know, having lost my husband a year ago, I'm so well aware that within 2 days, the world keeps going
Wow.
without me.
Wow.
So that kind of tells me, and it helps to balance that importance of how important am I really to the world. Yes, I'm important. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm important in the now.
Yeah.
But as soon as we're gone, life carries on. And so just having that balance of my own personal importance.
Dustin.
Well, along the lines of what you said, I remember, especially being a newer agent and being challenged to put the phone away or go for a walk without the phone. it felt almost like impossible
Yeah.
to do that. And when you finally do it, though, and you put it into practice, you realize that the world really doesn't burn down
No.
in one day, or 1 hour or 2 hours.
There's no such thing as a real estate emergency. Right? There's not a 911 for real estate for a reason.
The only thing.
Should we
is
start
just-
one? That would be really cool. We
Micah's
could-
in charge.
Yeah, Micah, you could be in charge of that. Let's
I
go.
need a second gig,
Dustin.
The only thing is like when offers are due, right? Or when they're being presented, you might want to be available.
Yes.
Right.
But you can schedule that in your schedule. But aside from that, especially new agents that are listening to this, I just hope you can learn that like things will not burn down in 1 hour or 2 hours. Like you can go for a walk through the woods. Like you can have dinner with your family and it's gonna be okay and nothing's going to burn down while you're gone.
So I'll piggyback right on that, which is our third question. And just for time's sake, we got a little more time. But then what would be practical habits? So I can hear us all listening and saying, that is awesome. I mean, you guys have learned some pretty important lessons. Yes, we all want work-life balance, but how do you do that? And you've given some hows, you really have, each one of you. But there's a famous book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I think there's actually a version, Highly Effective Realtors, as well. But what would be some examples of some habits that maybe you've learned? We've all done it the wrong way, right? Each one of you I know is very authentic. You've all screwed up. You've all messed up. You've all been out of balance. But I also know enough about each one of you that you've come back successfully to this thing we call life. And by the way, I'll say that one of the reasons, I'll answer the own question, one of the ways you can know if you're out of balance is an ancient scripture. There's really an interesting verse that says, these things you'll know if you've got, I'll just use the word balance, or fullness. You'll have things like that exude from you. Things like love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. It's one really kind of interesting. How am I doing in those? And a lot of times they're going, oh, ouch, not even close. So habits, I'm going to pick on you, Micah, because I know you're the king of habits to me.
So, well, Todd started coaching me probably 5 years ago, right? Because I was so struggling with work-life balance and that sort of thing. And we were able to bring those numbers that were lower up to 9, But I think one of the biggest things for me was, right, knowing that, right, I want to be needed and I'm an achiever, right? I want to achieve, right? A- is failure sort of thing. So one of the things I did this past year was I probably have slipped in terms of, if I was an A- realtor, I'm now a B+ realtor because I'm taking an hour for exercise right now every day.
That's
right?
good, isn't
and so, well, and sometimes that includes showers.
Oh,
but, right?
okay.
So I have.
You did take a shower before you came. Right?
Earlier in December, I did.
Oh.
So I have slipped. Right, I don't respond to emails as fast. I don't respond to texts as fast as I used to. I don't get into work right away, but I have more energy. My flames are running hotter, even though right, when I'm at work, and sometimes I used to take long lunches, and so maybe I'm not taking my long lunch anymore. I'm running, and then I'm jamming lunch at the computer. But the work-life balance that I have, I feel like the mental and emotional energy I have from spending that time on the bike or on the treadmill.
Your cup is filled.
Because it's winter, my cup is full. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's recognizing that I'm not going to be 100% the best realtor ever. Can I let that go and be a better husband and father or whatever it is
that you're striving
that's in your
give you
life
balance.
that's important to you? Yes. Yep.
Dustin, any habits that you've seen have been helpful?
Yep. So, can I reiterate the question real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Read the question.
What practical personal habits are valuable in helping bring greater joy, clarity, and work-life balance?
Thank you.
So my answers, I wrote a few down. So finding stillness and alone time to reflect and recharge.
Okay.
I bought a sauna this year.
I've been in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So cool.
And that has been huge because you can't bring a phone in there or it'll melt, which is awesome. So that's been huge.
Okay. So that's practical. Like,
yep.
What do you get from sauna, by the way? Sorry, Dustin, because I know there's things you want to go through, but what does that get to for you?
It's just reflecting.
Is time to
looking
reflect.
internally and just digesting the day. And
The sauna helps you do that, in other words.
yeah, if there was a difficult conversation with another realtor or a client, you can kind of just digest it a little bit.
Okay.
And rather than just letting it irk you, you can kind of just digest it a little bit more.
Okay.
Literally just taking time to think.
Yep. Okay.
Regular events with friends and family, so scheduling those things.
Yeah.
If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. Getting away on a weekend, vacation, creative pursuits. I noticed that a few years into real estate, I just stopped playing music. I stopped having any creative outlets. And I think that's easy to do because we get so wrapped up in just work, and being a good dad, being a good husband.
Although you did some pretty cool
I was gonna
videos
say,
in
you
the
poured your
beginning.
creative efforts into some cool videos.
I thought that was pretty darn creative, but anyway.
Sure. But yeah, I've started to recognize that, and I'm trying to give myself to the creative pursuits. For me, I wrote down less social media. I know we're on social media right now, but
Thank you.
But
How did we miss that one? Like that
Yeah.
seems like a major driver to
like-
get people off base sometimes, but yet
Yeah.
we know it's an important tool as a realtor. Talk about that, Dust.
well, for me, the comparison is the thief of all joy is the phrase I've heard, and that's true for me. I mean, especially now, like everyone's posting, top this, or I sold this amount of houses, which is great, and I'm proud of you all. You're great. But it's sometimes it sidetracks me personally. I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but for me, it sidetracks me, and I get focused on the numbers rather than, oh wait, I was trying to have more life balance so that I could be more present with my family, and you lose track of that. And so I have taken Facebook and Instagram off my phone altogether. That's helpful. Reading, educating yourself more. And then I wrote down regular date nights. So we have a babysitter that every single Wednesday night shows up 5:30, and we get out of there. So all those things are, I think, super helpful.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's the question? I'm going to ask you, Karla. What's the question?
I think
They're-
some about habits.
Habits,
for
that's it. Thank
clarity
you.
and that kind of thing.
Any habits that you've come up with after 26 years that are worth really, really discussing right now?
Yeah, I think in the real estate sphere, I said it just a few minutes ago, learning leverage, learning how to hire out a showing assistant, or learning how to
Another good
give
one.
away pieces of the real estate. If you think about a doctor's office, the doctor is not sitting at the receptionist office. He's not sitting at the pharmacy. He's not sitting at all those pieces. He's got people. But in realtor world, we don't look at it that
What
way.
are good examples of a couple of things you could piecemeal?
Transaction coordinating.
Transaction coordinator.
Transaction coordinator, really showing agent. You could do that as
Showing
well.
agent. Administrative assistant, possibly.
Yeah, an admin for your marketing.
Admin for
Yeah,
marketing.
that's another one as well.
Okay.
So the other thing that I want to talk about that recently my mind's been ruminating on is that a lot of times our values are reflected in our goals. So if we say we value our family, which we all do, we value our relationships, is that showing up in our goals? So that's the thing I've really been challenged by for this year, is saying, because I think it and I think I want to do it, doesn't mean it's going to happen. So it's taking a look, like you said, at the life wheel and saying, okay, if I want more fun and recreation, which fun and recreation ended up being a 2 for me a few years ago, because I actually enjoy my job. My job is fun to me, so that is fun. But me getting away and filling my bucket was about a 2. So I'm like, that awareness now, if that's my value, how do I execute on that on my calendar and get more intentional on it in my calendar? So, you know, that's a thing I think is really core for us, is to really say, if these are truly my values, how does that show up in my goals? Whether it's money, success, finances, and for me, being a person of faith, you know, my spiritual connection is probably my most vital connection that I need to have for fulfilling my soul, you know, and if I get lean in that, I feel it.
You feel it, sense it.
I feel it. So
Micah, we're getting close to wrap up. So anything on you on habits, or did you already hit that well enough?
I think for me, it was just recognizing that exercise, you know, was really important, and that was always, you know, 4.
The one you had
there
the
was always
lower
a
number
4
on,
out
yeah.
of 10 at best.
But now,
Yes, now it's a 10. Yeah, I ran a half marathon last year, so yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
dog.
Good
Yeah.
job.
yeah,
So, yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So just as a wrap up, we really have about 2 more minutes, but like, what's the, if you think about our own time here as a talk, if you just kind of like say, it just can be hard to do, to summarize, why is why are we even here talking about work? Like, what was our takeaway? And maybe even for you, it would be great if we had a live audience. We say, what was your takeaway? But since we can't, for you, even as a panelist, Karla, what was something that was a takeaway for you that was like, this was an important part of the discussion of work-life balance?
I think it's just a huge topic for all of us, and you guys said it best. When you've got 6, 7 buyers extracting, and your time is so boom, 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 and we're flying around at 900 miles an hour sometimes.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about work balance. We have to talk about mental, not mental illness, but how it taxes us mentally,
Yeah.
and physically and spiritually. Those are the.
Stand out for you?
We are.
I think it would be something that you and I had discussed previously, which is when we get to the end of our time, whenever that is,
Habit too.
no one ever says, I wish I would have worked more.
Right.
Right? No one ever says, I wish I had more money.
Yep.
It's always about family.
Yep.
It's always about the impact they had on the world in like a positive way.
Yep.
And so trying to keep that longer term perspective of, at the end of my life, I want to, wherever it is, go, I did an awesome job being there for my family and my wife and my kids and all that stuff, right? And made a positive impact in the world, rather than, I wish I would have taken 3 more listings in 2022. Right? It's not going to matter, right? It won't matter. And so just keeping that big picture
Yeah,
perspective.
that's right.
Dustin?
I mean, that was probably the best
That's
to
it.
walk away with. But I think also just
Boom.
We could just say, Micah's, he
Micah
nailed
Childress.
it. We're done.
Hero right there.
I think also just acknowledging and being aware, and like if you're watching this or a realtor, I mean, just know that you're not alone in this, and that if you are experiencing mental issues, or you're feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders, I think just know that like you're not alone, and reach out to people. We want to help. I think any of us, all of us would be willing to sit down with anybody just to try to help provide solutions. So don't keep going alone. Reach out. That's what I would say.
That's good.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so
like
much.
it.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much
Todd.
for sharing your life.
Thanks, Todd.
Appreciate it a lot.
Inspiration.
Yep, thank you.